wipe your tears? Do you wipe them just for me? Do you wipe them just for me?
Hi students, today we are going to do the chapter We Are Not Afraid to Die, We Can All Be Together by Gordon Cook and Ellen East from your class 11th book, Hornbill. The story is about the determination and togetherness of a family that defies the odds and the torturous weather to achieve a nearly impossible feat. Their courage and love for each other help them survive fearful storm and finish the journey they set out to complete. Let's go through the characters. We have the narrator, who is the captain of the ship. He's a 37-year-old businessman. He wants to duplicate the round-the-world voyage made by Captain James Cook 200 years earlier. His wife Mary supports her husband's dream on the planned 3-year voyage. Jonathan is the narrator's 6-year-old son who displays strength and optimism even in the most difficult of times. Then we have Suzanne, who is narrator's 7-year-old daughter, showing immense courage throughout the voyage. Larry Wiggle is American crewman. Herb Sigler is a Swiss crewman. Both were hired from Cape Town to tackle one of the world's roughest seas, that is the Southern Indian Ocean. Let's go through the story in detail. In July 1976, the narrator, a 37-year-old businessman, his wife Mary, son Jonathan, 6-year-old, and 7-year-old daughter Suzanne, set sail from Plymouth, England. They wished to go round the world on a long sea voyage as Captain James Cook had done 200 years earlier. So this means they wanted to duplicate the journey as Captain James Cook had done. Now the question is, who is Captain James Cook? Well, Captain James Cook was a British explorer, navigator, cartographer who rose to the rank of captain in the Royal Navy. The routes of Captain James Cook's voyages are shown over here. The first voyage is shown in red, the second voyage is in green, and the third voyage is in blue. The routes of Cook's crew following his death is shown as a dashed blue line. Since they wanted to take a similar trip, so the narrator and his wife had spent 16 years honing their marine skills. And these marine skills involved a knowledge on a variety of fields. It could be management, navigation, forecasting, watchkeeping, ship handling, operation of the deck, equipments, cargo, pumps, anchors. So this shows that they did a lot of preparation before undertaking this journey. The Wave Walker was a 23-meter, 30-ton boat that was professionally built and it had been tested in the roughest weather. The first part of their planned 3-year journey, which was like 5,000 kilometers, passed pleasantly. They sailed down the west coast of Africa to Cape Town. Over there they took 2 crewmen, American Larry Wiggle and Swiss Herb Sigler, to help them tackle one of the roughest oceans, that is Southern Indian Ocean. On the second day out of Cape Town, they faced extremely strong winds which blew continuously for next few weeks. Waves rose up to 15 meters. It means that the size of the waves was up to 15 meters. On December 25th, they were 3,500 kilometers east of Cape Town. Though the weather was bad, still they enjoyed Christmas and the New Year's Day. The weather changed, but it changed for the worse. On January 2nd, the waves were gigantic. It means they were huge, mighty waves, and they were sailing with a small storm jib. Now, what is a storm jib? Storm jib refers to a heavy canvas used in ships to control the ship in bad weather. The gigantic waves and the dangerous wind continued to terrorize them as the boat moved to the top of each wave. In order to minimize the damage, they dropped the storm jib and lashed a heavy rope in a loop across the stern. It means that they tied the boat to the fixed object, or you can say they tied a rope to the hind part of the boat or the back part of the boat, that is the stern. Then they fastened everything, went through their life raft drill. So life raft drill means practicing how to climb into a lifeboat if the main boat sinks, and attached lifelines. Lifeline means they tied rope to their bodies to prevent drowning, and put on oilskins. Now oilskins refers to cotton fabric which is treated with oil to make it waterproof, which means that they put on their waterproof clothes and life jackets and thus prepared themselves for the worst scenario. The first sign of the approaching disaster came with an ominous silence. Ominous silence means quietness just before some dangerous happening. The wind had dropped and the sky had immediately grown dark. Then came a growing roar and a huge wave. A tremendous explosion shook the deck, and consequently, narrator's head stuck on the wheel. He flew over the side of the boat into the water. He was sinking below the waves, and he accepted his coming death. But suddenly his head popped out of the water, and a few meters away, he saw the wave walker sinking. But the succeeding waves erected the wave walker and helped him move into the wave walker. The narrator was swirled like a rag doll. Now, what is rag doll? Rag doll is made of the pieces of cloth, but over here it means very light object. So the narrator was thrown by the waves like a rag doll, and consequently his left ribs cracked and his mouth was filled with blood and broken teeth. But he somehow found the wheel lined up the stern for the next wave. It means that he prepared himself for the next wave. Frantic efforts were made to save the boat from flooding. Frantic here refers to desperate attempts, crazy attempts to save themselves. There was water everywhere on the ship, but the narrator could not leave his place in order to investigate the situation. Suddenly, his wife Mary, she opened up the latch and shouted that they were sinking as the decks were broken. So the narrator asked her to take charge of the wheel, and then he moved inside. Larry and Herb were pumping water out of the ship like madmen. The wooden beams had broken, the whole starboard side had bulged inside. Crockery, tins, charts, toys, everything was sloshed in water. He crawled into the children's cabin. Sue, his daughter, had got a big bump on her head, but he had no time to attend to her. Narrator found a hammer, screw and canvas and started repair work. He managed to stretch canvas and secure waterproof hatch across the gaping holes. Now, gaping here means widening holes from which the water was entering the boat. So this shows that the narrator made all possible attempts to stop the water from entering the boat, though some water still continued to come in it. But most of it was now deflected on the other side. But this was not the end of their troubles. The survival attempts came along with innumerable problems. The hand pump started to block with the debris. Debris here refers to broken pieces of material which was floating on the boat. The electric pump had a short circuit and the water level rose dangerously. The narrator found 2 spare hand pumps that had been pulled away by the currents. Now, pulled away here refers to they were thrown into the water by the waves. They were thrown along with other equipments like the forestay sail, the jib, the dinghies, the anchor. But he searched for another electric pump, connected it to the out pipe, and the water was pumped out throughout the night. They tried to get replies on the mayday call, but were futile. Now, mayday call refers to messages sent over radio during threatening emergency. So we can say that the narrator tried to seek help by sending radio signals. And moreover, narrator's daughter Sue's head had swollen alarmingly. She had 2 enormous black eyes. Enormous means huge. And she also had a deep cut on her arm. So this shows that Sue was badly injured and she did not tell the narrator. Probably she didn't want to worry him when he was trying to save them all. They had survived for 15 hours since the big wave hit the wave walker, but the boat was not strong enough to take them to Australia. The narrator knew that the boat wouldn't hold them together long enough, so he checked his charts and calculated that there was only one hope for them if they could reach Isles Amsterdam, a French scientific base, one of the 2 pinpricks in the vast ocean. Now here, pinpricks in the vast ocean refers to tiny islands in the vast ocean. They are so small that they appear like tiny pinheads on the map of the vast ocean. So we can say that their only hope of survival was to reach those islands in the vast ocean. Meanwhile, narrator's wife Mary found some corned beef and cracker biscuits, and they ate their first meal in almost 2 days. But their relief was short-lived. The weather again had started deteriorating, and by the dawn of the 5th January, the situation was again desperate. Seeing the situation, the narrator went to comfort the children. He tried to assure them that they were going to make it. Jonathan, narrator's son, said that he was not afraid to die if they can all be together. So this shows that narrator's children displayed amazing maturity and resilience in the face of disaster. Moreover, they gave him courage and hope and a reason to fight the sea. The narrator tried his best to protect the weakened starboard side of the boat. However, late in the evening, as more water came into the boat, he felt defeated. But on January 6th, when the weather improved, the narrator again tried to calculate their position. While the narrator was at work, his daughter Suzanne came to him and gave him a card. She had drawn caricatures of Mary and narrator, and the card said that she loved them both and hoped for the best. The narrator was filled with optimism. Somehow they had to make it. Jonathan's fearlessness and Sue's optimism filled the narrator with determination and courage to fight the sea. The narrator made several calculations using a spare compass, made some adjustments, and asked Larry to steer a course of 180 degrees. He said if they were lucky, they would be able to see the island at 5 p.m. But dejected with attempts, he went down to his bunk and fell asleep. It was about 6 p.m. when he woke, and he thought that they must have missed the island. Just then, Jonathan and Sue came to him and gave him a big hug because he was the best daddy in the world. The narrator was confused. So Stu announced that the island was just in front of them. He rushed out to the deck and saw the most beautiful island in the world, and it was Isles Amsterdam, a piece of volcanic rock with little vegetation. With land under his feet, the next day he thought of cheerfulness and the optimism of all the people on the boat, which made them pass through the worst stress ever. The narrator calls Isles Amsterdam as one of the most beautiful islands in the world. It was because this island was the only hope of survival for the voyagers. The narrator was successful in saving his family and the crewmen. By reaching it, he had won the fight for survival. If they had not reached the island, they would have surely sunk. In conclusion, we can say that the people on the boat reacted to the danger with a fighting spirit and optimism. Their undaunted efforts helped them to survive the disaster. And on the other hand, we also see that the children showed amazing maturity in the face of the disaster. They remained strong and composed despite serious injuries. Both the children displayed courage and patience. So we can say that adopting a courageous attitude in the times of difficulties motivates one to face the upheavals of life courageously. It is rightly said, cowards die many times before their death. The valiant face death only once, and when the valiant die, they die a hero's death. So the story inspires us to maintain our calm in crisis. Stress and pain will only worsen up the situation. If we accept difficulties as a way of life and face them with a brave front, they will soon fade away. So thus, by being positive and not losing faith in ourselves can help us survive any disaster.